Hey, I'm Natalie Hodson, and I want to talk to you guys today about superpowers. Now, the reason I want to talk about this video is, in fact, I don't know if you can see my shirt here. It's funny. Somebody gave it to me as a gift. They said, I poop breakfast. What's your superpower? I'll talk about that later in the video, but I want to share this. So I actually just literally ended and started talking to you guys. I just did a training on this to we call it our Peak family. They're the students that are inside my Peak Business Academy. And I'm going to pull a clip of that out that I'm going to share with you inside this video because I think it will be really helpful for you. So if you're watching this thinking like, yeah, I'd love to have an online business or sell a product online, but I have no idea where I would start and I'm not that special and like who would really listen to me, pay attention to this video because I think it's really going to be helpful. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the framework that I go through when I'm first creating an online digital product and I'm trying to decide, I don't know what I would create a product on. Where should I start? And you're probably in one of two camps. Either you have too many ideas, you don't know how to narrow it down, or you're like, why would anybody listen to me? I'm not that good at anything. And I'm going to help you figure that out and kind of show you the process that I go through. And if you're somebody who has ever had an interest in creating a digital product, this is one of the best places that you can start because it's really going to, I think, get the wheels turning in your head of ways that oh yeah, maybe I could create a product on this. Maybe I could help somebody with something that I've gone through in the past, or it's just something I enjoy that I like doing. And I actually bring out my little handy dandy whiteboard with my terrible handwriting. And I go through that process myself and I show you guys what that might look like. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments here. Let's start a conversation on this because I really genuinely want to show you how you can make this possible for you too. One of the reasons I started creating all these videos and started my YouTube channel back up is because when I first got started, I didn't have somebody showing me the ropes. I was just bootstrapping it, trial and error. It took me so much longer than it could have. I just would have had somebody pointing me in the right direction. And so my purpose for creating all these free videos for you guys is just to help you understand this process, learn from my mistakes, and hopefully to give you some excitement, some encouragement, and some momentum so you can start doing this yourself, which I want you to know you can. I promise you, you can. You just have to, one, believe that it's possible, and two, follow the process. Anyways, if you have any questions, put them in the comments and make sure you like and subscribe if you like these videos. All right, guys, so we are going to talk about superpowers today. Now, I know that we talk about superpowers quite a bit, but there's a reason that I keep talking about superpowers because it's important, especially if you're wanting to start an online business. You want to know what are the things that are unique to you that maybe you could create a digital product on that could be the kickstart to your online business. Or maybe you already have an existing business and you want to add a digital product, right? Maybe you're a coach and you want to, and that's kind of your time, that's one-on-one, and you want to add a digital product that can increase the revenue that you're bringing in from your customers already with something that's a lot more scalable than your one-on-one time. A lot of times when people come to me and they say, well, Natalie, I don't know like where I would even start. I'm not that special. I'm not that good at that many things. And I don't even know what kind of product I would create. And I always start at the beginning and say, all right, let's look at what your superpowers are. And most people, when I ask that question, are like, I don't have any superpowers. I'm not that good at that many things. And I always kind of laugh and I'm like, well, welcome to the club because I'm not that good at that many things either. But this is a really, really important place to start. And I'm going to go through this process and explain why here in a minute. But the biggest reason is I think it's really easy for us to not see our own superpowers. But the truth is we all have them. And they're probably things that might seem simple or easy to you, but to somebody two steps behind you might really be struggling with. I want you guys to think about the things that might not feel that hard to you, like that you might think is not that big of a deal or has just always been easy for you, so you think it's not that special. But to other people might really like not know how to do that or be struggling with it or look up to the way you're doing things and be like, dang, how did they figure that out? I want to figure that out too. And that's the best place to start when you're thinking about creating your online digital product, because it's something you're already doing. And it's something that if you can take a look at the process that either you went through to learn that, or maybe there's some systems that you have in place that you don't even realize you have in place because it's just what you naturally do, but that maybe you could take a look at, okay, what are the steps I follow when I figure this thing out, when I do this? And could I teach that to somebody else? Could I help somebody else with that? And I'm going to actually write this out for you guys on my whiteboard now. And I want you guys to do this exercise with me. So even if you don't have a whiteboard, just grab a piece of printer paper, grab some Post-it notes, use the iPhone section of your phone, whatever you need to do. It does not have to be perfect, but I really, really, really want you guys to do this with me. So what we're going to do is, this is what I want you guys to do. Okay. I'm going to have you take a look at the things that you enjoy in your life that light you up, that maybe the experiences that you've been through, or something that like is your favorite hobby, your passion that you really love doing. And I'm going to have you write those out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at why you're good at those things. And again, at the beginning, one, you might think, I don't know why, I'm just good at it. Or two, and I actually went through this process earlier today, and it was funny. Even though I teach this, I still was having these voices in my head of like, oh, this is kind of stupid. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, why would somebody else want to learn this? And I had to catch myself, and I had to say, Natalie, wait a second. You teach other people not to have those voices. Like, stop it right now. Because the truth is, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm going to have you guys go through this exercise with me, and there's literally no right or wrong answer. And things that you might think are kind of silly or not that big of a deal to you might be a really big deal to somebody else that you could help them with, that you could create a product that you could sell online. I'm going to have you guys kind of break this into 3 different sections. Okay. These are your superpowers. Dun, da, da, da. I'm a dork. Okay, I'm going to pause, hop in for a second, and just let you guys know, I was getting this video ready for you, and I watched my own handwriting, and I was like, oh my gosh, Natalie, your handwriting is the worst. Nobody's going to be able to read this. So I actually rewrote everything that I wrote down real time. That was impossible to read. And I just want to let you know that I might be like plugging some of that onto the screen for you, so it's a little easier to read and you can actually understand what I'm saying. And so if I go back and forth between when I was on camera versus, me writing on the whiteboard, and I just wanted to explain so that way you weren't like, wait a sec, 1 second she was writing here, the next second it's just her hand. And it's just because I care about you guys and I want you to be able to read my handwriting. Hope you guys like this. Let's keep going. What we're going to do is first, we're going to look at the things that make you unique. Okay. So things that make you unique. Now, I want you to think about 3 things that might separate you from other people, or things that other people that maybe if you're entering the space and there's competition out there already, things that that might separate you from them. Right. And so for me, I always tell people I'm not that good at that many things. I'm really not. I'm not at all, actually. In fact, today I was trying to have a meeting with my CPA tomorrow to do taxes. And I like spreadsheets, but I'm not that fast at them. I'm like, dang, probably somebody who's actually fast at spreadsheets could get this done in way faster than the 4 hours it took me, but oh well. And so one of the things I think about is I'm not that good at that many things, but what makes me unique? I think something that makes me unique is I'm good at connecting with people. And I don't really know why. I always just say, well, I could tell you my life story and probably reverse engineer why, but I think I've just always been good at connecting with people. I always say it's a blessing and a curse. I feel people's emotions. And sometimes that can be really good. Sometimes it can be kind of overwhelming, but I'm good at connecting with people. And the reason I write this down, and again, as you go through this process, I don't want you to think like, oh, this is stupid. I'm good at connecting with people. That's what I started to think about in my head. I was like, no, wait a second. This actually does matter because, when I first got started online, I started in the fitness space, which I hate the S word, saturation, right? I don't believe I dropped that scarcity mindset a long time ago. But some people might argue the fitness space is one of the most S word markets there is. I think, I knew I wasn't the smartest, the fastest, the strongest, the most fit, the prettiest, the funniest, the fill in the blank. But I knew what I was good at was connecting with people. And I think that's what really is the reason why I was able to get my start, is because I was able to stand out in that way, not necessarily because of my knowledge or I was teaching things brand new under the sun. It's because I was able to relate to other people in their specific scenarios, and it made them feel less alone. And so I do think that's a superpower of mine. Now, I think, okay, so I'm going to have you guys write 3 things. In fact, I'm going to put 1 here. And now yours obviously aren't going to be the same as mine. It can be whatever yours are. But I want you to write 3, even if it feels hard, and it probably will feel hard. Even if you think it's the smallest, silliest thing, I don't care. I just want you to write this down, okay? 2, if I said something else that makes me unique, I would probably write down happy. Like I'm a genuinely happy person, and that's real. That's not fake. Like what you guys see here in our groups, what you guys see in videos, like that's really how I am most of the time. And I'm grateful for that because I know that there's a lot of people who struggle with being happy. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been able to just consistently keep showing up, even though I've screwed up 1,000 times more than I've succeeded, is because I try to find happiness in everything that I'm doing. You know, I try to, for example, like I love walking up to the top of the hill and behind my house and watching the sunset. It makes me happy. I try to find happiness in small things that I'm doing. I think that is what helps me have momentum as I'm going through. And I would say, what else makes me unique? If I were to brainstorm, I'd probably say that I'm resilient. And again, it feels kind of awkward to write these about yourself because you're like, almost feels like bragging a little bit, but I do think that's something that makes me unique. You know, for whatever reason, I have an ability, if I get handed hard things, I wish I didn't. I swear, I always say I have the worst luck of anybody. Like weird things always just happen. But I think that resiliency is something that does make me unique, and it's something that I'm proud of. And it's something that, because I have that, I haven't stopped on the times where I've had failures. And you guys have heard me say this a lot, but something that I seriously live by is just because I failed doesn't mean I'm a failure, right? Seriously, I'm going to say that again. Just because I failed doesn't mean I'm a failure. One is an act, one is your identity. Slight difference in language, massive difference in how it impacts you and makes you feel. And for me, I think that once I started realizing that, it changed everything for me, because I could screw up and all of a sudden it didn't define who I was as a person. It wasn't my identity, it was just an act. And I just kept saying, just because I failed doesn't mean I'm a failure. And that's what allowed me to develop more resiliency, more grit, allowed me to dust my knees off and say, okay, we're going to stand up and try this again. And I look back at the decade that I've been online. I'm aging myself here. It's almost been 11. It actually probably has been 11 years. And I think the reason that I didn't just stop, you know, people say the 7-year itch with careers. Did I feel that way at times that I wanted to stop? Yes. Have I felt that way lots of times? Yes. But I kept going. And I think that is a superpower, something that makes me unique. For you, it could be totally different than mine. I'm going to come back to this in a second. My arm's just getting tired. Maybe you love baking and you love giving people homemade baked goods, and it lights you up to do that. Maybe you are a really good listener, and that's one of your superpowers. Maybe you are super creative and you're great at design. Maybe you're awesome at braiding hair. Maybe you are really good at sticking to a routine and a schedule, right? I'm just giving examples and ideas here. These don't have to be yours, but it can be something that probably to you is like, yeah, that's just who I am. That's just how I am. But I want you to write it down. And there can be more than 3, but let's at least start with 3. Okay. So what I want you guys to do in the second column now, I want you to go through and say, what are the things that I love? What are my passions, my hobbies, the experiences that I've been through in my life, right? And for some of you guys, this might end up being really long. For some of you guys, it might not be. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But I want you guys to go through and say, all right, what are just the things that I like? And so for me, I might say backpacking. I might say spreadsheets, because I do. I love my spreadsheets. I'm such a dork. I actually was just putting in my numbers so I keep a super detailed tight budget for myself. Like nobody's holding me to it. I like it. I like spreadsheets. I like helping others build their own businesses, right? Building businesses, being outdoors in nature, right? I love gardening. I like playing board games and like just having normal, boring time at home, sitting around the coffee table playing board games. I like reading, even though I never have time for it. Okay, those are some things that I like. What are some of the experiences that I've been through in my life? This could get a long list. Good ones and bad ones, right? So I was a college athlete. I am the oldest of 10 kids. A lot of people might not know that. Did you guys know that? I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters. I have twin sisters that are 16, so there's a huge age difference between us. Experiences, I have gone through a divorce. At one point, we were $170,000 in student loan debt, and we paid it all off. Even before I had my online business, it's an experience I've gone through. I'm a mom. I delivered my babies with midwives, so no drugs, 2 10-pound babies. That could be one, maybe. I went through a lot of stuff growing up. I had a mom in and out of prison for most of my life. I was a history major in college. Okay, so I just want you to start writing a list for you. What are those things? The things you enjoy, the experiences that you've gone through, okay? Now, the last thing I want you to do is I want you to look at, and I want you to go through this list, okay? And I want you to look at the things that make you unique and the experiences that you've had in your life. Maybe these are things that you could help somebody that to you, you might be like, I don't know, it's just what I went through. I didn't like choose to go through that. But yeah, actually there is a process I went through, or maybe I could help somebody. And I want you to think through that. And I want you to like start there, right? So maybe go through, I'm gonna get a different color marker. And I might look at this list and say, well, a lot of people ask me how to get started gardening, and it feels kind of overwhelming. Maybe that's one, right? So I want you to go through, and with a different color, let's take purple or pink for fun. Some of my markers are dried out, so hopefully this shows up. Gardening, right? That's one that people ask me questions about. And if you're struggling with this part, maybe just say, what have I ever gotten questions asked about in the past? Okay, I've gone through divorce. A lot of people ask me how I navigated that. How we paid off our student loan debt. That's something maybe I could help people with. How to have natural childbirth, or even recovering from childbirth of a 10-pound baby. Maybe spending quality time with kids. And I want you to go through, and I want you to just underline the things that if you were to envision yourself teaching this or help to other people or helping somebody with one of these topics, what would it be? Maybe all of them will be underlined, maybe just one will. There's no right or wrong answer here, right? Okay, so here's the part that I'm gonna have you do something, and don't think this is too woo-woo. There's a method for my madness here, okay? I'm gonna have you get a different color. Let's pick blue. Yeah, let's pick blue. So I want you to go through, and I want you to circle the things that bring you joy, okay? So we're gonna circle those. And there's a reason that I do this, and not because I'm like, what brings you joy? Like, it's because I don't want you to, I'm going through this process with you to help you figure out like what direction should I go if I want to start an online business, or I want to start creating online digital products. And if you start with something that doesn't bring you joy, yeah, maybe you could teach it, but if the sound of it, working on that makes you like, whoa, I don't want to do that. Like for me, talking about divorce, no thanks. That would not bring me joy, right? So, but maybe for you, it might be empowering other women post-divorce, right? So it could be the same topic, but for you, it actually does bring you joy. I'm just giving you my own examples. So I would go through and I would circle the things that I also first underlined that also bring me joy, because if you start a business with something that doesn't bring you joy, you're going to get burned out really, really fast. I've been there, I've done it. I don't want you guys to make those same mistakes. And so I would say, all right, talking about childbirth, yeah, that'd be fun. That brings me joy. Divorce, no. Building businesses, yes. I'm like geek out on it. I always warn people, I'm like, don't get me started talking about business. Like my friends, I'm like Bubba Gump. I just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. Sometimes people, like this happened last night at my daughter's basketball practice. They're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, uh-oh, yeah, in my head, I was like, do you give the short answer or the long answer? And anyways, gardening. I love gardening. That would be super fun. Board games. I don't know. I like playing board games with my kids. I don't know if I were to help. I don't know, maybe not. I'm just going to leave that one for now. So for you, again, this might look totally different. You might have totally different answers, numbers of things that you've underlined and circled. There's no right or wrong answer. Now, the last thing I want you to do is get a different color. Let's pick red. And I want you to put a star around the things that you think you might be able to implement the fastest. And I say this because one of the things I'm always looking for in my own business, my own life, and I want to teach you guys too, is I always want you to be looking at what are the things that give you momentum, right? Like I'm always looking for momentum in my life, like anything that's going to give me a win. And so for me, especially for your first product, I think the faster you can get it up, the better, because you're going to start getting revenue in, you're going to start being able to help people, which always feels good. And you're going to get feedback from other people based on what you're teaching them. And you're probably going to adjust that as time goes on. And that's okay, right? Like my very first online digital product was definitely not my best at all. In fact, it probably was like one of my least good ones. But I created that one first because I knew the topic. I had taught it to other people before, and I felt like, okay, I can just take the same notes that I've used this to teach it in person, and I could put that into a digital product. So if you've ever done any speaking events, or maybe taught a class at your church or anything like that, or maybe you're currently a coach, like a one-on-one coach, I bet you there's a process that you go through when you work with people, or maybe it's something that you're just excited about and you feel like, okay, I could crank this out. So let me give you an example. My Crock-Pot cookbook, it's my #2 best-selling online digital product. That one was super fast and easy to get up, and I liked it. I loved it. I mean, it brought me joy, but it wasn't like my #1 thing I loved. But I like cooking, and I was like, well, I already have all these recipes that we already have, so I could just plug those into an ebook, put some stories around it, and we have a product done. And so it was actually kind of a fun story. I texted all my neighbors in our cul-de-sac and I said, anybody have a crock pot I can borrow? I need a bunch of them. And so they lent me their crock pots. And then I made each of the recipes each day just because I wanted like a good picture of them. I just took the pictures on my phone. But every night I had no more room in my fridge, right? I made the recipes. So each night we basically had a big potluck at our house for all the neighbors that lent me their crock pots. So I could make the recipes without having to wash as many dishes throughout the day by using the different crock pots. And then at night, we would eat all the food, so I had more room in my fridge for the next day's ingredients. So that's just one example. But what I want you to do is I want you to go through and think, is there anything in here that I could put together pretty quickly? And for me, I would say, all right, well, gardening might be a good one, right? Like I have a lot of pictures of my journey of gardening and like how I learned. I have books that I've bought and written notes in of like my own systems. I use a software called smartgardener.com, I think is what it's called. It's not sponsored. I just pay for it like a normal person. And each year I plot out my garden and my garden space. I do square foot gardening. So like what I'm going to plant, how far apart I need to have them. I have years of those just saved in that software. So I was like, I could take that, look at the first year I started, how I grew over time, and put that into a system, like to me. So I want you to go through and things that are underlined and circled, I want you to look at which one, pick 1 or 2 that you think you could implement the fastest, okay? And then I want you to write that over here. So you're gonna come over here to gardening, and then you're gonna come back to what we did at the beginning, the things that make you unique. And I want you to look at gardening, because what might happen is the voices in your head, I mean, gardening is my example, whatever it is for you that's over here. The voice in your head might be like, well, I'm not a master gardener. There's other people out there who know way more than I do. Like, who am I? Like, why would people listen to me? I want you to come back over here, okay? And I want you to look at the list that you wrote down for things that make you unique. And I want you to say, could I put this spin on this topic, right? I'm good at connecting with people. So maybe I talk about all the things I failed at with gardening in order to get to where I'm at now. Maybe that can be the thing, like this perfectly imperfect gardening, right? Maybe that can be my angle that I take on the gardening topic. I want you to go through and not just hone down like this topic, but I want you to think about what makes me unique and how can I put this spin on this topic? And that is going to be the subniche that you're going to create. And that's going to be the reason why people are going to be drawn to you. And so if you're struggling in your head of like imposter syndrome or not feeling good enough, or like, who am I to think that I can create an online digital product, and would people actually buy it? They will. I promise you that. It's the things that make you unique that are going to draw your people to you. And you might not attract everybody to you. You might not attract the people who want to be the most advanced master gardeners, but maybe you want to just help that first-time gardener. Awesome. Like your stories, your experiences, the things that make you unique will draw your tribe and your people to you. And so I just want to go through that process with you guys and break it down and kind of show you my thought process when I go through this myself and how I even come up with what products I want to create. I think a lot of times we get this idea that, oh no, if I start with one product, I'm going to be pigeonholed in this area forever. And that's going to be the product I'm always going to have to create. That is not true. I promise you. If you look at all the products I've created over the years, I've created them in all different areas, right? Fitness, cooking, business, mindset, pregnancy, like all kinds of stuff. But it was kind of that core connection of the things that make me unique that allowed me to use those as a consistent thread between all the different topics. And then just help people in the stuff that I enjoyed, the stuff that I liked, even though to me, I don't feel like I'm an expert in any of those areas necessarily, but they're things that I've gone through. They're things that light me up. They're things that I enjoy helping other people work through as well. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Did you guys like that? In fact, let me know in the comments here, you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. If you went through this process yourself, what some of your superpowers are. If you got stuck on anything, also let me know and we can help you navigate through that.